Hello, welcome to the latest breaking news. In this video, you will see important news on use of trending and breaking. Please like this video, subscribe this channel. Fred Harris, former U.S. Senator from Oklahoma and presidential hopeful, dies at 94. Fred Harris, a former U.S. Senator from Oklahoma, presidential hopeful and populist who championed Democratic Party reforms in the turbulent 1960s, died Saturday. He was 94. Harris' wife, Margaret Elliston, confirmed his death to the Associated Press. It was not immediately clear where he died, but he had lived in New Mexico since 1976 and was a resident of Corrales at the time of his death. Fred Harris passed peacefully early this morning of natural causes. He was 94. He was a wonderful and beloved man. His memory is a blessing, Elliston said in a text message. Harris served 8 years in the Senate, first winning in 1964 to fill a vacancy, and made unsuccessful bid for the presidency in 1976. It fell to Harris, as chairman of the Democratic National Committee in 1969 and 1970, to help heal the party's wounds from the tumultuous National Convention in 1968, when protesters and police clashed in Chicago. He ushered in rule changes that led to more women and minorities as convention delegates and in leadership positions. I think it's worked wonderfully. Harris recalled in 2004 when he was a delegate to the Democratic National Convention in Boston. It's made the selection much more legitimate and democratic. The Democratic Party was not democratic, and many of the delegations were pretty much boss-controlled or dominated. And in the South, there was terrible discrimination against African Americans, he said. Harris ran unsuccessfully for the Democratic presidential nomination in 1976, quitting after poor showings in early contests, including a fourth-place win in New Hampshire. The more moderate Jimmy Carter went on to win the presidency. Harris moved to New Mexico that year and became a political science professor at the University of New Mexico. He wrote and edited more than a dozen books, mostly on politics and Congress. In 1999, he broadened his writings with a mystery set in Depression-era Oklahoma. Throughout his political career, Harris was a leading liberal voice for civil rights and anti-poverty programs to help minorities and the disadvantaged. Democrats everywhere will remember Fred for his unparalleled integrity and as a pioneer for instituting core progressive values of equity and opportunity for prosperity as core tenets of our party, the Democratic Party of New Mexico said in a statement. Along with his first wife, LaDonna, a Comanche, he also was active in Native American issues. I've always called myself a populist or progressive, Harris said in a 1998 interview. I'm against concentrated power. I don't like the power of money in politics. I think we ought to have programs for the middle class and working class. New Mexico Gov. Michelle Lujan Grisham praised his work for their shared state and the nation. In addition to being a highly accomplished politician and professor, he was a decent, honorable man who treated everyone with warmth, generosity, and good humor, she said in a statement. Senator Harris was a lesson in leadership that public officials would be wise to emulate now and forever. Harris was a member of the National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders, the so-called Kerner Commission, appointed by then-President Lyndon Johnson to investigate the urban riots of the late 1960s. The commission's groundbreaking report in 1968 declared, "Our nation is moving toward two societies, one black, one white, separate and unequal." 30 years later, Harris co-wrote a report that concluded the commission's prophecy has come to pass. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and minorities are suffering disproportionately, said the report by Harris and Lynn A. Curtis, president of the Milton S. Eisenhower Foundation, which continued the work of the commission. Norman Ornstein of the American Enterprise Institute said Harris rose to prominence in Congress as a fiery populist. That resonates with people, the notion of the average person against the elite, Ornstein said. Fred Harris had a real ability to articulate those concerns, particularly of the downtrodden.